Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Sriyoshi Roy.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Lisa Sen.
Good afternoon, Lisa.
Good afternoon, sir.
I am Shubhapriya Sarkar.
Shubhapriya, good afternoon. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Konkonika Malik.
Konkonika, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Padavali De.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Shushmita Bhattacharjee.
Lisa, you have used some other name, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Eva, you have written, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have marked your presence. Yes, please introduce yourself. Attendance and introduction together.
Sir, I am Sriyoshi Roy from Shantipur. I have completed my higher secondary from Shantipur Radharani Nari Shiksha Mandir.
Good afternoon. Yes, today the topic that I am going to discuss, as the students keep joining, I will just start with my discussions today. The growth and development of the classical Indian drama, that is the topic of discussion today. If possible, take note. And if any questions you have, just unmute your mic and ask question. Feel free to ask question because I will just go slow so that you can understand.
Okay, sir.
Okay, keep your mics in mute condition so that the voice doesn't carry. Yes, Lisa, unmute your mic. Or else from my end also I can unmute the mic. So the topic for discussion today is the development, growth and development of the classical Indian drama. As I said earlier, the Indian history or the literary history of India can be broadly divided into four major periods. The prehistoric period, of which the historical documents are not archived yet. We do not have the historical document. The second was the classical period. Classical period roughly starts from 5th century BC and continues up to the medieval period, say 10th century AD. The third I said was the medieval period that begins with the 11th century AD and continues up to the arrival of the Europeans in India, especially the British. In the 17th century it starts, and then we have the modern period. And modern period is divided into two parts. One is the colonial period. India was under the East India Company and then under the British colonial power, British Empire. And after independence, we already have 74 years from 1947 to 2020. The classical Indian drama refers to the literary texts that were produced and developed during the classical period. Some of these works refer back to the prehistoric period that the literary historians call pre-Vedic period or Vedic period or even post-Vedic period. Some of these texts take their origin from that primitive or say prehistorical period that we call the Vedic ages. Classical manuscripts that we have now, on which we are trying to date the exact compositional years of those texts, has been placed in the classical period. So I would regard these as classical plays rather than pre-classical or rather than prehistorical plays. The central text that is there for our understanding of drama is Natya Shastra by Bharata Muni. Natya Shastra by Bharata Muni. In Natya Shastra, there are references to previous texts like Natya Veda or a book on Abhinaya. These books are dated around 5th to 6th century BC, although we do not have any kind of extant text of these works. These works were written on the palm leaf and preserved, especially in the temples. But exact manuscripts of these earlier texts are not found. Even Natya Shastra, the text that we are usually following in order to study the development of classical Sanskrit drama, classical Indian drama, has been dated around 2nd century BC to 2nd century AD. This is the rough timing. Although the orality of the text, the tradition on which the text is composed, that means the verse tradition, refers to the tradition that was there around 5th century BC. So probably this text was composed around 5th century BC and was then written down as a Sanskrit text only after 2nd century BC. And it may be that the text went through several kinds of revision, and such revisions turned Natya Shastra into a text. So from the oral text into a written text. And this written text was available to the translators, and the translators later on translated that into English. So I am talking about a period when English as a country did not develop, English as a language did not develop, and there are limitations in the English language. So the proper translation of classical texts like Natya Shastra is of course not possible. Exact translation of the text is not possible. But we have Indian translators who were well versed in Sanskrit. They took this task of translating Natya Shastra into English. Especially Manmohan Ghosh, he made the translation of Natya Shastra. This Natya Shastra is a long text, okay. It has 6,000 verses. 6,000 verses, you understand the length, with 36 chapters. So 6,000 words long text with more than with 36 chapters. This is a long text, and these are divided into different sections. These texts are divided into different sections. It is an ancient Indian text on dramaturgy, and deals with different aspects of theater. By dramaturgy, I mean how drama has to be composed, how the play is composed, how the drama is presented with the help of Abhinaya, how the composition is made with the help of dance, music, natya, nitya, all these are combined together. So in ancient classical dramaturgy, we have these words in the book called Natya Shastra. So what is the word, what is the meaning of Natya? Natya means performance. Natya means a kind of act. The exact translation of Natya is act. But we must remember the word act, that is a Western word, an English word, cannot contain the entire connotation of the word Natya. Okay. So Natya Shastra is a book, a treatise on Natya. This Natya is a large umbrella, including all the other aspects of performance arts. So in short, we can say that it is not just the act, rather, it is the entire performance tradition that is included in this book called Natya Shastra, Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra. So Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, this has a composition history. Even in the book Natya Shastra, it is mentioned how the work was composed. So I must talk about the Puranic tales. You understand this entire Indian subcontinent is full of Puranas, ancient mythological tales. So there is a mythological tale behind the composition of even Natya Shastra. You want to hear, you want to listen to the tale, how this book on the performing arts was composed in India. So I would just like to take you back to an ancient text called Shiva Purana. Okay, Shiva Purana. In Shiva Purana, there are references to the enactment of play before Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, as you understand, was much related to this Natya Shastra and he was part and parcel in the process of making of Natya Shastra. But before the players went to Lord Shiva to show their performance based on Natya Shastra, there is also a composition history of Natya Shastra. We know that in the Vedic ages, we have 4 major Vedas in the ancient Indian tradition. You know the names of the 4 Vedas? I know you know the, yes,
Yes,
the 4
sir.
Vedas. These 4 Vedas were there, and these 4 Vedas were primarily meant for the gods and goddesses. And this entire concept depends on a very structured hierarchy of human beings, graded inequality of human beings. On the top, we have the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. After that, there is a large pantheon of natural gods. Then we have a large pantheon of gods and goddesses based on the natural symbols like Surya Dev, like Indra Dev. And then we have the other inhabitants of the earth. And in this grand pyramid of the Indian cosmology, grand pyramid of Indian hierarchical order, we have also the presence of those who are below gods and goddesses. By different names they are called. So once upon a time in ancient world, when the world was almost satiated with godly, heavenly bliss and happiness, everything was there. There was some kind of decadence. There was some kind of decay in human morality. And because most of the people on this subcontinent were not allowed to read the scriptures, the Rig Veda, the Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda, these 4 Vedas were restricted only to the class of learned people, and ordinary people did not have any access to the learning of the older Vedas, 4 Vedas. People on the ground, people inhabiting the earth, they became immoral. They started spending their time in some decadent pleasures, wasted their time. People were warring against each other, and entire Indian subcontinent was peopled by the aboriginals, the original people of this land. They are the Danavas, the Rakshasas, the Asuras. So they were there inhabiting the earth. So they all came together and they went to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma asked them, what is the reason? Why have you come? Everything is well and good. What is your problem? So Danava, Yakshas, Asuras, so they all went to Lord Brahma with a request. They said that we have given 4 Vedas. We know that these 4 Vedas are good for learning, for knowledge. But you have also restricted the learning of the Vedas to the people who are close to you. So those who are learned people, you have restricted the text to them. And we who speak the local languages, we are not well aware of the language that you use in the Vedas. So kindly compose something for us, some kind of conduct book for us, so that we can have some kind of moral lessons from that, as well as we can also have some kind of entertainment. So Lord Brahma was much surprised by the request, but he was much interested because people in the Indian subcontinent, they want to know something. So he said that, yes, I will help you. I will take the best things from the 4 Vedas that are easily understandable, and then combine these together to create the 5th Veda. Okay. So Brahma started negotiating with the 4 Vedas, and from these 4 Vedas, he took different things and brought them together in order to create a kind of 5th Veda. So he started taking from the original text, the reference to the, say for example, Rig Veda, the oldest book of him. So he took the incantatory recitation part from the Rig Veda, how to recite, how to perform the oral part. And from the Samaveda, he took the song. So sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni, sa. We have this Swarolipi that we talk about. So Shaptapadi, the sounds, musical notations, these were taken from Samaveda, from the Yajur Veda. He took out the best elements that is referring to the Abhinaya or acting. So for the acting component is taken from the Yajur Veda, and finally the aesthetics was taken from the Atharva Veda. So I just repeat the elements that are taken from the 4 different Vedas and how these 4 different elements are combined together to create the 5th Veda or the Natya Veda, Natya Shastra. So from Rig Veda, recitation. Okay, remember Rig, recitation. Okay, oral component. From the Samaveda, Sa, song, Saregama, Dhanisa. Okay, Samaveda. From the Yajur Veda, he took the acting. Okay, Yamma, okay, like that, Yajur Veda, acting, how to enact, perform. And from the Atharva Veda, he took the aesthetics. AA, just match Atharva Veda, aesthetics. So these are the 4 Veda. Just recall to your mind name of the 4 Vedas and the components that are taken from these 4 Vedas. So one by one, you will just remember. So from these 4 Vedas, 4 different elements were taken, and these 4 elements were then combined together in order to create Natya Veda. But then Lord Brahma had his limitations because he was very busy doing all the things of the world, creating the entire universe was his task. So he asked Lord Indra, please help me out and try to compile these elements and try to write a new Veda called the 5th Veda that I want to give to the ordinary inhabitants of the Indian subcontinent so that they can have something to learn from, something to get entertained with. So Lord Indra, he said, no, I cannot do this. I cannot do this because I am much busy with the Apsaras of the heaven. I am much busy with my kingdom. Indra is also the king of heaven. So I am very busy with my kingdom, with my Apsaras. So I don't have that much time. Furthermore, it is not very good for me as a king, as a god, to act in such place. So I am not ready to do or perform in the jatras that you are planning. So Lord Brahma was a bit annoyed with Lord Indra. Nevertheless, Lord Indra suggested that there are great rishis on the earth. Shapta rishis were there and the followers of the Shapta rishis were there. So there are so many great rishis and munis are there on the earth. Why don't you take the help? Why don't you take the help from the rishis of the earth? So of these rishis, one rishi was Bharata Muni. Bharata Muni was a renowned rishi. He had a school, Gurukula, and he had, it is said, had 100 sons. And even the sons had their wives, and so many disciples were there. So many different types of characters are there in this Gurukula of Bharata Muni. So Indra suggests that perhaps Bharata Muni will be the most appropriate person, and if Brahma gives the instruction, no one can just refuse. So Brahma requests Bharata Muni to take out these 4 elements from these 4 Vedas. Just remember what are these? R for Rig Veda, R for recitation. So recitation component from Rig Veda is taken. So S for Samaveda, from Samaveda, the song component is taken. Is it clear? Y for Yajur Veda, from Yajur Veda, Yamma, acting, that is taken. How to act, how to perform, that is taken. And finally, we have Atharva Veda, from where the yes, Atharva Veda, from where aesthetics. Okay, aesthetics means non-known, how to create art and aesthetics, that is taken from the last one called Atharva Veda. So Bharata Muni took to the task. He was much delighted with the task and went home and employed all his sons and his disciples and started working on this Natya Shastra. Always remember, Natya Shastra is a compendium, a large book, encyclopedia. I've already told 6,000 words long with 36 chapters. So it requires a lot of input in order to create. And everything has to be started with the scratch from the beginning. You have to start. So there is a theory that is to be written first, and after that the practice will come. Unlike the Western counterpart, in Greece and Rome, the performance came first, and on the basis of the performance that were there, the book, the treatise on tragedy and comedy was written by Aristotle in the 4th century BC. So it is almost the same time Bharata Muni is composing the Natya Veda or Natya Shastra with the help of his disciples and sons. So each was assigned to enact something, perform something, or do some task. So first it starts with the theatrical organization, how the theater is to be built. So how the theater conception has to be built. So Lord Vishwakarma, you know, the engineer of gods, engineer of the world, he was summoned, he was called. So he was asked to shape a theater house. So from its very basic development, Sanskrit theater was liturgical or religious in origin. It was closely tied with the rituals of Hinduism. Therefore, Vishwakarma introduced some kind of rituals that are to be performed in order to create a sacred place for performance. Even before Natya Shastra was written, there were, of course, some different types of rituals and performance that were there. For example, yajna. You understand what is yajna? Yajna takes place. Okay, it is conducted by a priest, and under the guidance of a priest, a large ceremony or ritual is conducted. It is also a kind of performance. Mantras are chanted and different types of activities are done. So it is also a kind of performance. But this type of performance called yajna is only for those who are allowed to perform in the yajna. All the people of the world, they are not allowed, or they were not allowed to participate in the process called yajna. So what will happen to the people who are outside this yajna? So they also need some kind of rituals, performances. So for that, Bharat Muni was asked to create a Natya Shastra in order to create non-yajnic performance. So drama in India developed as a non-yajnic performance, only where the people who are not allowed to perform jagna will be allowed. And those who are allowed to perform jagna, they are restricted from non-yajnic performances. Is it clear? So we have a thin line dividing between two types of performances or rituals. Number one, the sacred, the pure, the religious yagna, jaggu. Is it clear? And the non-religious, non-yagnic performance, that is called natya. So you understand the difference between natya and yagna. So Bharat Muni took up the task of writing a shastra for natya, not a shastra for yagna, because the 4 Vedas are there that talk about the shastras or the rituals of yagna. So this was the division of labor. When he took up this division of labor, he started with Vishwakarma and asked Vishwakarma to create the theater house as a place where such performance can be done. So Vishwakarma was also the lord of this universe, and he wanted something pure and sacred to be done, even on this non-yagnic performance space. So he talked about the 4 pillars. Any kind of structure has to be built on pillars. So he talked about the 4 pillars. And these 4 pillars were demarcated with 4 colors. So modern day cosmology will tell us that there are 4 directions: north, okay, east, south, and west. So on the 4 corners, we have 4 pillars that were first erected. And these 4 pillars had 4 colors. From this word color, we have the word called varna. And accordingly, these 4 colors that were made for the pillar were attributed to the 4 varnas during that time. What are these 4 varnas? We know that in ancient Vedic, post-Vedic text rather, in ancient post-Vedic text, we have a reference to the Chaturvarna system in Indian society. Chaturvarna means 4 colored system. Varna means color basically. So in Natya Shastra also, there is a reference to the 4 varnas, Chaturvarnas. So the first pillar was meant for the cerebral, for the head, okay, head of a human being that thinks. So this cerebral aspect where the intellectual activities are done, mind works. So first pillar was kept for this mind. The second pillar was kept for the arms, okay, shoulders. So arms, we know, are all engaged to work. So the second pillar was restricted to action. So first was kept for thought, that is related to the head. The second pillar was kept for the action, that is related to arms. The third was created for the torso, okay, for the ordinary day-to-day activities that we have. So that is the lower portion of the human body. And the fourth was kept for the legs, okay, that are rooted on the earth, that are placed on the earth. So four varnas, four colors were attributed to the four pillars. And these four pillars were regarded as the sacred pillars of the theatre. Theatres during that time, Vishwakarma organized into three types. One, where the entire performance will be done and all the performers are the participants, as in Yagna. In Yagna, all the participants are the performers. So similar to that, first type of theatre will be that where all the people will come together and perform. It will be like a collective performance. So there will be no separation between the audience and the spectator. All will perform together in some kind of dramatic ritual. So in most of the folklores or folkloric performances, old type of performances, we have this. For example, if Ram Leela is done in a village, so what type of performance is that? Someone dresses up as Rama or someone as Sita, but the entire village community participates as different types of characters. So it is a kind of journey back to the past, mythical past, and the characters or the villagers start performing roles of different characters. Some become Hanuman, some become Shugriv, some become similar, simple person living in that place. So all the people participate. Some become Navik, some becomes say Sugriv, some becomes say Kekai. So all the characters are drawn from the real people who are living. So this is one form where there is no division between the audience and the performers. The second type of drama was such where we have large number of actors performing and lesser number of audience. So more performers and less number of audience. So this was possible only in the court theatres. Raja Maharajas, they had court, gods and goddesses, they had courts, Sabha theatre. So where we have large number of performers, but the audience, the number of audience is limited. The third type of theatre that Vishwakarma built was divided into two parts, one for the spectators, one for the actors. So this is the modern theatre that we have. If say Ram Leela is performed today on the stage, so on the stage the actors will perform and we from the audience we can see the play. So this was the third type of theatre. There was no kind of elevation or making of the stage in these theatres. All these three theatres were done on a single platform. Okay, no elevated platform. Moncho was not a concept in the traditional theatre, in traditional Sanskrit theatre. So on the same floor, either all the performers are the participants or number of performers more than the number of viewers, audience, limited number of viewers see, or they are equally divided. So these three types of theatres. Similarly, Natya Shastra contains different chapters. All these chapters are further divided into different sections. When I deal with Natya Shastra in detail, I will talk about the different sections of the text Natya Shastra. But nevertheless, this contains primarily information related to Abhinaya, how to act. It is related to the definition of Natya, how Natya is related to different types of performance forms. There are the Dasa Rupakas, 10 types of performances that are listed by Bharati Muni in this work. Dasa Rupaka, 10 types of performance. So nowadays in Western theatre, we have tragedy, comedy, tragicomedy, farce, different types of plays are there. Similarly, in the Natya Shastra, we have 10 types of performance called Dasa Rupaka, and these Dasa Rupakas are clearly defined in Natya Shastra. There is also a reference to the performance technique, how performance is done on the stage. Performance is primarily based on the production of rasa, how the Navarasa, 9 rasas are produced through abhinaya, through acting, how these Navarasas are produced through acting. So these are there in the Natya Shastra, and furthermore, how these are communicated to the audience. Rasa, like rosh, like juice, is not only the production but also the relishment. So it is produced by the actors and it is relished by the spectators. It is produced by the spectators and it is released by the actors. So it is an exchange, aesthetic delight. So I refer to the Atharva Veda, from where the aesthetics of performance was taken. And in this Atharva Veda, there are references to such forms of rasa. So rasa is a kind of aesthetic pleasure, the delight, the juice that we get through this kind of performance. So this is enjoyed not only by the performer but also by the audience, and this shared exchange or kind of tasting of the juice together constitutes the core of the Indian dramatic tradition. But these rasas are artificially produced on the stage through the abhinaya. So through acting, these different types of behavior or rasas are produced artificially by the actor. But the actor is trained properly in order to produce such rasas. And in order to produce definite type of rasas, the actors are supposed to have in them sthayi bhavas, bhava, sthayi bhavas. And this Natya Shastra also talks about these sthayi bhavas, how these sthayi bhavas are produced internally, how they are generated, and how they are then in performance produced on the stage, produced in front of the audience. And to the exchange of this rasa, there is an aesthetic delight, and Natya is complete. So this Natya Shastra was compiled, written down, and Bharata Muni started rehearsing on some plays in order to see whether this Natya Shastra is actually working or not. So the entire troop of Bharata Muni's sons, they all went to Kailasha Parvata. And you know who presides over Kailash Parvata? It is written in Shiva Purana that Lord Shiva, the deity of this world, he was there. So Mahadeva was there, and the entire troop went to the Kailash mountain in order to perform this particular plays. And the first play that they performed, it is said, it is referred to in Natya Shastra, was Samudra Manthana. Samudra Manthana, you know the story, Samudra Manthana. Once upon a time, the world became divided into two parts, two types. One was the world of the Devas, Devis, the other was the world of Asuras. And there was a fight among the Asuras and the Devas. And they were fighting for power, authority, and entitlement on the earth. The heavenly abode, the best of the places, were restricted to the Devas, and on the earth there was a stiff competition going on. So Samudra Manthan, you know, the churning of the sea, that was translated into a play by Bharata Muni, and it was produced before Lord Shiva. So we know that in this play, different types of characters are there. In Samudra Manthana, different types of characters are there, drawn from different aspects of life. And they are Danavas, Rakshasas, Asuras, Yakshas, Devas, Devyas, all are there. And in order to churn the sea, what you need? You need a large serpent. So a large serpent, a snake you need. A snake was there. And in order to place the Mount Meru, you need some large animal on whose back this Meru was kept. So a large tortoise was placed, and on the back of the tortoise, the mountain was placed, and around the mountain the snake was coiled, and then there was a tug of war, the churning of the sea. And what is the purpose, the churning of the sea? Through the churning of the sea, some things will come out, and finally the gods and the demons will share those things among themselves. So this was the play. As you know, in the churning of the sea, one by one the moon appears. That is the creation myth of Hindu cosmology, the creation myth of Hindu mythology. One by one the sun came, the moon came, the stars came out, Lakshmi goddess came out, Saraswati came out. So all these one by one came out and joined the party of the Devas. So gradually what happened, the Devas became stronger and stronger. The Asuras also kept on pulling the mouth of the snake hard and hard, so that things come out. Finally what comes out is a pot of Amrita. So Amrita Manthana. Samudra Manthana is actually Amrita Manthana. So Amrita comes out, and who takes the position of the Amrita? The Danavas. The Danavas take the position of Amrita. So after taking the position of Amrita, the Danavas, they start enjoying. Gods are suddenly very afraid, because if the Danavas, the Rakshasas, the Yakshas, they have this Amrita, they will become immortal, they will never die, and this can become very dangerous if they do not die. So gods will be defeated one day or the other. They are immortal, but if the Danavas also become immortal, what will happen to them? So they appear to Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu takes the shape of Mohini. Okay, Mohini, and she is the performer. Mohini is the first performer, an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and Mohini comes and starts dancing, and she, after showing her dance, steals the kalash of Amrita, takes that Amrita and gives that Amrita to the gods. Finally, what comes out? Finally, poison comes out, and this poison is trying to poison the world. So all the gods then go to Lord Shiva and request him, please consume the poison, otherwise we all will die. So Lord Shiva, with his power, consumes the poison of the world. Therefore, he is Nilakantha. So the throat of Lord Shiva is Nilakantha, because he has consumed the poison. So this is the story. So Bharat Muni and his company, theatre company, went to Mount Kailash and performed the play before Lord Shiva. So what do you think? Lord Shiva will be happy with the play? Lord Shiva was much delighted, because it is a story of his own life, and he knows that what is the main cheating. And he says that, okay, I know this is a play. So you have elevated me to the standard of God. You have made me the god of the gods. And finally, what you did? You gave me the poison to me. So Bharat Muni said that, is the play okay? So Lord Shiva, after seeing this play and two more plays, finally came to the conclusion. The other two plays that were performed before him, Tripura Daha. So three kingdoms, Tripura Daha. Three Puris came out, and finally Shiva Lord destroyed the Tripurari, who created the three kingdoms and became the master of the heaven, the earth, and the hell. So Tripura Daha. And the third was search for the Mriga Shirsha. So that plays, three plays were performed. After seeing the performance of these plays, Lord Shiva said, yes, the plays are good. The plays contain so many types of characters, so much theatricality is there, and it serves both the purpose. Two purposes are there. Number one is to teach morals, and number two is to entertain, to teach and to delight. Both the purposes are served, and the production of rasas through the plays, Lord Shiva found okay. But he said that whatever you have done one serious mistake. What is the mistake? Bharat Muni asked. So he said that you have included all the rasas, but where is Hasya Rasa? Without Hasya Rasa, there can be no theatre. So this is the major contribution according to Shiva Purana, Hasya Rasa. So Hasya Rasa is one of the Navarasas. So this Natya Shastra initially had only 8 rasas. Only 8 rasas. Okay, so Hasya Rasa was introduced. So the Hasya Rasa was introduced as the 8th rasa by Shiva. And later on, after that, we have also the calm posture of Shiva that later on developed with Santata Rasa. So Santata Rasa is a Nava Rasa. Ninth Rasa is the Shantata Rasa. So 8th Rasa is Hasya Rasa and 9th Rasa the Santata Rasa. So these rasas were composed. So we have a Nava Rasa in the place, and Shiva also talked about the Bhava. Dasarupakas were produced. So different types of plays. So you have got two plays to study. One is by Kalidasa. Kalidasa's Abhigyanam Shakuntalam. The second work is by Shudraka, Mritchikatikam, the clay cart, Mritchikatikam, the toy cart or the clay cart, Mritchikatikam. So these two plays are there prescribed for your study. The first play, Kalidasa's Abhigyanam Shakuntalam, is a Nataka. So Dasarupaka, 10 types of plays are there. I will come to that. I will take classes on Dasarupaka also. So this Kalidasa's Abhigyanam Shakuntala is a Nataka, while Shudraka's Mritchikatika, Mritchikatikam. So in Sanskrit we have this at the end that was not there in the Pali language. So Sanskrit added this and re, Sanskrit, re sound and sound to the Pali language. This was a development of the language of ancient Indian language. So this Mritchikatikam is regarded as a prakaran, a kind of drama, prakaran, and it is cast in 10 acts. The basic difference between these two, as Lord Shiva pointed out, that you are only writing plays on the acts of God. Why don't you write some plays on ordinary human beings, natural human beings who are inhabiting the earth? So Bharat Muni said, yes, our plays contain all these. You have seen this Amrita Mantana or Samudra Mantana, and you have seen all the characters there. So Lord Shiva says, no, these are mythological stories. Why don't you include in your dramaturgy some kind of plays that are realistic? So Prakaran is an invention of the poet. Invented plot is there, and it is related to the contemporary real life. So it is a story that is fictional, written down, not based on the myth or the Puranas. Rather, a story that is realistic. So we have these two plays in your syllabus. One is a Nataka that is based on the story that we get in which major epic? The story of Abhigyanam Shakuntala, the story of, yes, in which major epic we get the story? You know this, Ramayana or Mahabharata. Where do we get the story of Shantanu? Yes, and Shakuntala. So the stories are taken from myth or from epic, that is Nataka. While the story that is written down, contemporary story, that is called Prakaran. Apart from these two types, there are 8 more types of Dasarupakas, 10 types of drama. So I will just try to wind up my discussion on Natya Shastra. So Lord Shiva also said that you have produced a play. It was full of performance. Dialogue was there. Vak, Vachya, Shabd, all these are there. Abhinaya is also there. But a serious thing is missing from your play. And without that, a play is not possible. And that is another great contribution of Lord Shiva according to Shiva Purana, to Natya Shastra. So Lord Shiva asked Bharat Muni to include Nritya in Natya. He said that without Nritya, there can be no Natya. And Nritya and Natya should combine together in order to create Natya Shastra. So Bharat Muni must have revised the text after taking into account the suggestions given by Lord Shiva, and as the Puranic tales, the mythological tales tell us that finally Bharat Muni composed the Natya Shastra as an encyclopedic treatise on Indian dramaturgy that contains different elements of drama. So all the traditional art forms that India has, all the traditional forms of performance that India has, all the forms contain the basis that is created in Natya Shastra. Okay, you need for performance a basis, a solid basis, the theoretical basis, and that theoretical basis is given in Natya Shastra. So that is a part of the theoretical aspect of Natya Shastra. But theory remains a theory until and unless it is practiced by someone. So we have theory in relation to praxis, Praxis. So this praxis can be seen in the manifestation of different forms of performance that developed in the Indian subcontinent. You are familiar with different types of performances. Say Bharatanatyam. Bharatanatyam is a form of performance. You know, the development of Bharatanatyam can be seen in the southern states, especially around Madurai, around Tamil Nadu. This development of Bharatanatyam as a form of performance started. We also have different forms like Kathakali. Kathakali has its origin from Kerala, Kalamandalam. So these type of performance that develop, the classical art and dance performances that developed in India are all based on Natya Shastra. So in Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, you will have all the details that we have in modern day Bharatanatyam. So Bharatanatyam, you know, develops around the initial sthapana. So when the dance form is performed, the dance is performed, first there is kind of ritual that is performed by the performer in order to sanctify the space, convert that performance space into a sacred space, and gradually establish the performance. Thapan means foundation of the performance, and that direction is given in Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra. So how to create that performance space? I refer to the 4 pillars, the 4 varnas on which the entire theater artifice is built, and how in Bharatanatyam, in the opening section, they create this space into a sacred space. Through our project, we will try to learn. So many students are there in the class, so they will be contributing to our learning of different art forms, dance forms in India, and we will learn from them how Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra has helped them. So in any school of drama or performance in classical Indian performing arts, we have the first textbook that is called Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra. The Natya Shastra has also given description of the musical notations, how the ragas, you know what is raga? The musical compositions, ragas are composed. So it is a book, textbook on ancient classical music, raga. It also talks about vadya, okay, the instruments of music that are used. It also talks about the mudras. In all the dance forms, we have different types of mudras. For example, in Bharatanatyam, we have pataka, artha pataka. So different types of performance, say mriga, like this, some kind of postures are there. Say even namaskara, this posture. So all these postures are there, defined as mudras. So these mudras are also defined in Natya Shastra. There is also the reference to the makeup. So makeup is very important component of performing arts, especially this artistic performance. Kathakali performance requires a large scale makeup. The entire day is spent on the makeup. For just 1 hour performance, you spend 12 hours, 13 hours in the green room just to create the large mask. So apart from this, we also have certain folkloric traditions in India. So these are the classical artistic forms that were meant primarily for rituals or for court performances or even for public performances. But there are also other folkloric performances that developed in India. Natya Shastra does not directly refer to these folkloric performances, but give us important clues to the nature of these folkloric performances. For example, the folkloric performance like Chhau Nach. Chhau Nach, you are aware of Chhau Nach of Purulia, of Odisha, of Sambalpur. So Chhau Nach. So Chhau Nach is a mask dance. A large mask is used by the performers. But the tala, the movement, okay, abhinaya, tala, tal, okay, the steps, the musical notations, okay, the sound, how the sounds are composed into music, the narrative, abhinaya, the story, all these are drawn from the Natya Shastra. So these are different forms of performances that are folkloric in origin, but also taken from Natya Shastra. Although Natya Shastra is regarded as a treatise for higher arts, okay, classical arts, higher arts meant mainly for court performance. Say Pandavani, a form of performance where the stories, mythological stories are performed, songs are sung, or say a performance like Gambhira. where we have the performance of mythological stories. So these also include some kind of makeup, dress, costuming, and the aspect of costuming is also mentioned in Natya Shastra. So in order to understand the importance of Natya Shastra, we have to first see the plays that we are going to read, and then, if possible, see the performance aspect of Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra. So this is what I have to say today. And if you have any questions, we can just open the class now for question and answer. So if you have any questions, just unmute your mic and ask questions so that I can respond to your question. Any kind of doubts, suggestions, if you have, you can please ask. Yes. You can also. Yeah.
Sir, I.
Yeah, switch on your video also so that we can see you.
Yes, sir. I couldn't hear the name of Navarasa. You said it, but my mic was on a problem, so I couldn't hear it.
I did not say Navarasas. I just referred that the eighth. So with Bharat Muni went with rasas. Okay, all the rasas were there.
Yes,
Shiva,
sir.
Lord Shiva saw that Hasya Rasa was not there. So he said, please include Hasya Rasa.
Yes, okay.
And after that, Shiva has two poses. One is Tandava, one is Lasya. Lasya is a peaceful part. So on the basis of that and some kind of contribution of Lord Buddha, Santata. Santata Rasa was added later on. Abhinav Gupta's time, it was added on as the ninth Rasa. So initially, Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra had 7 Rasa. Shiva suggested to include the 8th Rasa called Hasya Rasa. And Navarasa is, 9th Rasa is Santata Rasa. That much I say. I did not say what these 9 rasas are. I will take a class, different class on rasas.
Okay, sir.
Okay, any other question? From the portion that I have discussed just now. If you have any question, you can please ask.
Sir, can you explain the 4 pillars again, please? I couldn't understand that clearly.
Yeah, a structure, an architecture, say theater structure has to be put on 4 pillars. Okay, these 4 pillars were colored. I will talk about the colors later on. But today I just told you that there are 4 pillars. And these 4 pillars are defined according to the Varnas and positioned in the 4 corners, north, south, east, west. Is it clear? The first Varna, first pillar was meant for the cerebral. Okay, the mind that creates, mind that produces. Is it clear? The mental. So when you are trying to create something, you work with your mind, with your brain. So mind, that is the first one. So this mind contains intellect, emotion, feeling, thought. That is for the first pillar. Anything that is done with the help of brain. Okay, first pillar. The second is action. So whatever is done on the stage, action, done with the hands primarily. So when you fight, when you cut, say a potato.
Sir, the first pillar refers the mind or the power of thinking.
Yeah, both same thing, no? Mind or the power of thinking. Both are same. That is what I say. So the first pillar refers to the Brahman, means I am because I think.
Thinking
Thinking power.
I think.
Is it clear? The second one, second pillar is based on action. Okay, action.
Okay.
Action with the hands mainly, with shoulders, power. The third pillar is for the normal business, day-to-day course life, ordinary business of life. Okay. So every day we have so many things to do, rituals, the ordinary activities of life. We take food, we sleep, we go to potty. Okay, all these things. So business, ordinary business of life. We go to market, we purchase things. So this is the ordinary day-to-day activities of life. And the fourth one is the Shrama. Shrama is different from work, action. Okay. Shram and action, these are two different things. So it is related to the legs. The plowman, Tasha, farmer, works with the legs. Okay. So human body anatomized into 4 parts. The head for the first pillar, the hands and the shoulder for the second pillar, the torso for the third pillar, and the feet, legs for the fourth pillar. And these are attributed 4 different colors. So these are called Varna system. It is also based on Chaturvarna system. Later on, Chaturvarna became caste system in India, a very bad type of graded inequality caste system that has prevailed even today, that gradually developed into a caste system. So Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and Shudras. So that actually was a post 2nd century BC introduction to Indian system. So this was not there in the original Natya Shastra. But we have some elements where Natya Shastra also talks about this graded inequality based on Varna. Varna and Jati, I last day said that these are two different things, but the English translators have translated Varna and Jati into caste. So according to the 4 aspects of human life, number 1, the thought process, number 2, the action that is visible, number 3, the day-to-day business of life, and number 4, the shram, the labor. Okay, the labor, the production. With labor, we turn our resources of the earth. Okay, we turn the resources, the natural resources, for our human consumption. And the person who is doing this is the shramik. So Shrama was related to the 4th pillar. And this 4th pillar was located on the northeast corner. Is it clear? Any other question? I will come to the details of this. Today, I was just introducing Natya Shastra as the seminal text of Indian dramaturgy. Yes, any other question you have? Please interact, please participate. Okay, next day, if you have any questions, you can ask me. So for today, can I take leave now? If you have any questions, observation you can make.
Sir, I didn't found the names of the books in the syllabus.
Every book is mentioned. So where Abhigyanam Shakuntalam is written, the textbook is mentioned there. Name of the textbook is mentioned there in the syllabus copy that I've sent you.
Okay, sir. I will
Yeah,
find
just see.
it.
Even Mitchakatika, it is written there, translated by M.M. Kale. It is mentioned there. So search the internet. I said, first search for the soft copy if you get. Otherwise, buy a paperback of that book.
Sir,
Purchase the
when is
textbook,
your
not
next
the
class?
Bible. Next class again on Monday at 2:30. Next Monday 2:30. So these days are fixed for you. Monday and Wednesday 2:30, as per the routine. So other teachers have taken class?
No, sir.
Not yet. Not a single one.
Not.
Okay,
No,
you
sir,
must-
I haven't get any kind of link of Google Meet from any other teacher.
Yeah, they might be planning to take class some other mode. Okay. Either through WhatsApp they will communicate or through phone they will communicate.
Sir,
After
what about our generic subjects?
generic subject also the teachers will contact. Okay. That's because it is just the starting part of your syllabus, of your course. Give them some time, they will contact you.
Okay, sir.
Okay, by December, perhaps the colleges will open. If the colleges open in December, we will meet personally and then the entire thing will be normalized.
In December?
Yeah, probably. Last day,
Yes.
some announcement was made. Let us wait.
Okay, sir.
Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and try reading, enjoy. So nowadays, Google and search. Even YouTube, you can search. Just type Natya Shastra, YouTube. You find so many good introductory lectures on YouTube. And today's lecture also I will upload in
Sir, we can search your name just on Google to find the video because it is recording.
Yeah, this recording also I will upload on the YouTube. Okay, on the YouTube.
Okay,
So
sir.
you enter
We can find it by your name only.
Yes, in the YouTube you type my name spelling. In the YouTube you get the video. Okay. So Natya Shastra, this
Good.
video.
Thank you.
Today's class proceeding also I will upload. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Stay
Thank you,
Okay, sir.
sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
এবার আস্তে আস্তে সবাই লেফট করছে, আমি আমার কাজ চালিয়ে যাই নিজের মতো, আস্তে আস্তে সব লেফট করছে।